Big doors are a real pain, so I made them all easy. Woo! So a year ago I released this video, and since then you guys have been wanting a tutorial. It's taken me a year to perfect the design, but here we are. It's 4 blocks deep, expandable to 32 blocks tall, and can be very wide. It has very little redstone doors and comes included with buttons. Hello everyone, my name's Tomco, and this is the expandable flying machine door tutorial. So this is a 10 by 10. I mean, just look at the size of it, but when we press this button, actually the whole thing will come down. And to be honest, it's quite fast. Now you may realize, yes, there is shulker boxes on the walls, but there's a 20 by 20 behind it. Now, yes, there is slime and honey on the floor, but come on. When we press this button, as you can see, it does close behind us. And yes, the thing is a door. Seeing this thing up close makes it look gigantic. But when we press this, as you can see, the whole 20 by 20 piston door will come down. I mean, to be honest, it's not that slow for a 20 by 20. And you may realize how this thing works. Now, to get rid of the 12 piston push limit, this thing's separated into 2 halves. You have the first initial half, and then you have this half. But this whole thing is now fallen into the ground. And the only bit of redstone that you can see is this tiny bit up here. But that's not all. As this can be a flush door. Now here we have, what side of this? This is a 5 by 5 flush door. But when we press this button up, as you can see, the whole thing opens up in front of us. Yes, I got you. I got you with that. But look at this. This is a 15 by 15 flush piston door. And nobody will suspect a thing. Well, nobody will suspect they have a 15 by 15 door behind this, especially. Now this door can be used from anywhere from even a 2 by 2 if you really wanted it to, all the way up to a 32 by 32. Any bigger than that, the game decides to crash. It's not very nice, but I recommend you don't build this thing unless you're building at least an 8 by 8. Of course, it can go down all the way to a 5 by 5, 6 by 6 and whatnot. 8 by 8, probably the smallest I'll go with this thing. Well, that's everything to it. The word download for this word is in the description below, as well as the word download for the massive 32 by 32 piston door, also in the description below. And whilst you're at it, please join my Discord if you need any help whatsoever. That's the best place to find me. Tutorial time. I'm pretty sure this is the first video of mine to have a disclaimer on it, but this thing is pretty heavy. Let's just say an Xbox One S can only run that 20 by 20 behind there, and even so, it still crashes every now and then. When you are building this, make sure you do not go over the top. If you have anything that's less performance-wise than Xbox One S, do not build over a 20 by 20. Now, for me, my game could only just handle a 32 by 32. I'd recommend you get yourself a creative world, design one of these first, and then build it into survival world. Now, I'm not going to be doing a proper material list or dimensions for this thing, as I am not giving you a material list from a 7 by 7 all the way up to a 32 by 32. That is just not happening. But in the shulker box, we have 3 different layers. Now, these are the honey, slime, sticky bits, and non-observers. This is what you're going to need to get the most of. This is what the door is going to be made of itself. And then these, you are going to need a few of them, like for the obsidian on the pistons, you are going to need, for every 1 layer of your door, you are going to need 2 of these. Get yourself a bit of redstone, some repeaters, and then building blocks. And you probably won't need a lot of these. Now, the target blocks, you only need 1 of those. On buttons, you're only going to need 2 of those, 1 for either side. Now, that's the best material list I could give for this. Now, for those of you thinking, oh my god, this build is absolutely gigantic, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, look at this. This is what the 20 by 20 itself is made of. As you can see, we have the bottom flying machine down there. Then, as you can see, we have all these little layers in between this. Now, this is what you're going to use to decide how big or how small your door is. So basically, this whole flying machine is split into 3 layers. We have the top, we have the bottom, and then we have the middle bit extensions, which you choose how many of those you want. I promise you, I'm going to try my best to make this thing as easy for you to build as possible. And now we can start building. So I'm making my door 13 blocks tall and then 13 blocks wide. And then this ground pit here, that is going to be the ground level. So this is where the door is going to be upright. Then it will go into the floor down below somewhere, but this is floor level here, then this is to start the door. So I recommend you get this thing built in. Basically, want to build this setup in your world to how big or how small you want it to be. Now, we're going to be building this from the top to the bottom, so we're going to be working on the top flying machine first, then making our way down, and you want to come to the very left of your door, where this little pillar is. You want to come here, you're going to place in a slime block here, slime block in front of this, slime block up, observer facing into the slime block. So as you can see, this observer's face is sticking out to the side. You're going to place a sticky piston going downwards on this block, with an observer going into this slime block, a sticky piston facing downwards on top of that, 2 slime blocks here like so, then a sticky piston going upwards. What you should notice is this little bit here is exactly the same as this little bit here. So this is the top of your flying machine. You're going to come another 2 blocks underneath this slime block here. You're going to place this piston facing downwards, An observer going straight up into this slime block, which will then activate this sticky piston here. You then come round, place a temporary block here, a block to the right, an observer this way, destroy these 2 blocks, then place a sticky piston facing downwards underneath that, just like so. So let's say if I zoom out, as you see, this is what this thing looks like. You're going to come underneath this sticky piston, and you're placing a little R shape, something like that. Now let's say you're making this thing 8 blocks tall in total. You should realise that this whole thing is covered in slime blocks right now. But let's say you wanted to make this thing 6 blocks, which means it'll go right up to here. You still have to include this bit. But for me, as you see, mine's 13 by 13. Mine haven't reached the bottom yet, so we got to keep on going. But if yours has reached the bottom already, you will have your slime machine here. But once we got this, as you can see, the slime block has not reached this bottom block yet. So we have to keep on going down. So you want to place a sticky piston and going downwards. 2 blocks. 2 blocks to the left. And then as you see, you still not touched it. So you got to go down again. So another sticky piston. 2 slime blocks. 2 slime blocks here, and then you might realize, oh no, it's gone 2 blocks down. It's gone too far down, but we still have to add a row of blocks in here. Yes, you will never see this, and it's pretty much pointless, but it still has to be there for this whole thing to work. So you basically want to keep on doing this thing until you get to the very, very bottom of your blocks. And the most important thing about this is that you cannot end it here. Like you could not just have this block below this and be fine. It has to go all the way down this very last slime block and make sure it is connected to a door block. You don't have to see this block. It just has to be connected to a block. You want to go all the way down to where your bottom of the door is. You don't want to come to these gaps over here. You want to place in a sticky piston facing upwards in those gaps. You want to do that in every single one of these gaps, apart from this gap right here, as this gap is where that piston will go down into. But once you've reached this bottom, filled in all these sticky pistons, we can now get started on this bottom slime machine. Now, however far down your door goes, you should always end up on a piece of slime machine that looks something like this. So you can see, we always have this R shape here. So whether or not you stopped it all the way up here, or you stopped it here, you stopped it here, or you stopped it all the way down there, so that's how big your door is, it will still be the exact same slime machine. As long as this R shape is here, we can make the bottom slime machine. So once you got this sorted out, you can place a sticky piston going down just like this, with then 1, 2, 3, 4 slime blocks on top of it. Then just place a sticky piston going straight up, a regular piston going off to the front of your door. So as you can see, this is your front, this is your back. An observer coming away from this piston with a sticky piston just like so. Then we'll come down on the 3 blocks, a regular piston facing to the back, an observer facing upwards with a sticky piston on just like this. Then we place an obsidian block down here. This is temporary. We will remove this. Then a block here. An observer going straight into this piston, just like so. So this bottom slime machine should be looking somewhat like this. So overall, mine is looking like this. But of course, everyone's going to be different. So yours will be different looking to this. But now we got to place in all of our observers. But before we do that, I forgot to place an obsidian block up here. This is important. You definitely want to have an obsidian block at the top of this thing and one at the bottom, so that when you activate this, it doesn't all set off and break the whole thing. Then come back round to this bottom slime machine, place a temporary block here, 2 observers facing into this slime block. So as you see, when we activate this, that'll make that piston extend, just like so. But it won't do anything as the obsidian block is there. You don't just come a temporary block on top of these. Another 2 observers. Now this observer will be activating this sticky piston. This one will activate this one. And the temporary block. 1, 2. Same thing is happening. This thing activating this. This is activating this. Then one final one here. Just like so. So every time there's slime here, you want to make sure an observer is going into that block. Until you get to this block up here, which there's only one, as there is no up sticky piston pulling this slime machine down. I'll explain that further on when we get to it. But as long as it looks something like this, you should be good. So if I stand back, this is what it all should be looking like. So you want to come down to this bottom obsidian block, you want to place an obsidian here. You want to come down the same height as your door is. So as you can see, my door is 13 blocks tall, so I need to come down another 13 blocks on top of this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Then to leave this bottom obsidian here, and you can destroy all the ones up here, which will go into that. So in total, the distance between the bottom of this and this obsidian here is 14 blocks. So that's the height of your door, and then add 1 more block because the height of this door is not seamless with the height of this slime machine. That's what you got to account for. But now we can test this slime machine out. Now I recommend you make a copy of this world. If you don't know how to make a copy of the world, I'm going to show you all you have to do. You have to click on this pencil, you have to go down, copy world, and then you want to load onto the original, which is the bottom one here. That's how you make a copy of world, and I suggest you do that before testing it every single time, as you do not want this thing to break, as that is the worst thing you could possibly do. But now that we've tested it, we can place a 1 block here, then this should make the whole flying machine go down. As you can see, it's moving down, then this bottom flying machine is pulling all of this. Now this top bit should stay there, that is absolutely fine. This thing should go all the way down. Yep. And then as you see, this bit is separate. This flying machine is on its own up here, but to activate this, you want to place a block here. Redstone dust on top of that. Temporary block here. Observer going into this redstone dust. Then all you got to do is update this observer. Then this flying machine will go down separately to activate this. Now this is what it does in the real thing. Let me just wait until this goes down. Then now this should be flush with the wall. Flush with the wall. Flush with the floor, I mean. Yeah, as you can see, this thing is flush with the wall. Awesome. You want to come back around to this bottom obsidian block over here. Then you also want to come out the same width that your door is. As you see, mine's 13 blocks in total. I'm just going to come out with this obsidian all the way until I get to this end block. Is it here or is it there? Is it here? Yep, so there. So that's 13 obsidian blocks in total. You want to do that until the full width of your door. You can now get rid of these blocks up here, as they are no longer needed. And then, just for safekeeping, once you've done this, you're going to place one more obsidian block on top of this flying machine, stopping it from going anywhere. So then we have, you see, we have this row of obsidian down here. You have obsidian here. Then you have an obsidian here. You also want to carry on this top obsidian 13 blocks along too. So once again, till you get to this bit. So now I'm going to explain how this whole thing works. This is probably the right time to explain it. Now I'm in myself a testing world right here. We have I'm pretty sure this is a 15 by 15 or 12 by 12. I'm not too sure. It might even be a 17 by 17. I don't know. But as you can see, if you remember this line of redstone up here, so when we tested this thing out and made it go down, it pulled all this bottom bit up, but it left this top flying machine here. Now what this does, this redstone signal up here is send this down. So let's say if I were to open up this door, we can see it all in action. But this bottom bit will get activated first, and then this top bit gets activated separately by that redstone line. Then it all moves down together, and this allows me to make this thing less than 12 blocks, meaning that it works. If I didn't have this system in place and this whole thing was just like a giant hipster door, this thing's head would be massive. It would be just like the old one. Oh, and I have this thing on a loop. It don't just go up by itself. So I'm now in the tutorial world again, and what you got to do now is probably the most annoying part about all of this. But you got to build another one of this right next to it, but in honey. And you got to keep on doing that until you get to the full width of your door. So you want to get your honey blocks out. This is very important. You do not want to put up slime here. It has to be a honey. If you have one thing where it's messed up, you've broken it. It will never work. But you need to come around to the bottom. Literally, just replicate it. But the way I like to do this is I like to put in all the observers first, just so you don't have to destroy the slime or honey when you come back to it. So I like to copy all the observers out, do this bit, then I'll do this bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. Sticky piston facing downwards. There's an observer there. Literally just the same. Piston, sticky piston. Now what I like to do is I like to place in 2 blocks here, then my sticky piston. 2 blocks, sticky piston, 2 blocks, leave this one. I then like to make in this top fly machine, so observers here. 1, 2, 3. Sticky piston. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 honeys. Upwards facing sticky piston. Downwards facing piston. But before we finish this off, you want to place your obsidian block here. And now we can place in this observer without activating and messing everything up. Then once again, copy what you have on the other fly machine, going all the way down, placing all of these sticky pistons, just like so. And finally, placing your door blocks here, and that is another row all completely done. Now, if you are in survival, you have to keep on doing this until you get to the very end. But because I'm in creative, I like to use structure blocks, and you don't know how to use that, I'm going to show you how to use structure blocks now. But if you're in survival, you're going to have to build each one of these layers out by hand. If you're in creative, you can use the cheaty way to do it. And to do that, you're going to need to get yourself a structure block. And as you see, this thing only works if you're in creative, by the way. If you're in survival, don't try this unless you have cheats on. Then just come a few blocks out, you're going to figure out where your structure block is facing. Now you want it somewhere like this, where it's either going one way and then back. Place it here, then just make it so it's actually to the length of this thing. So this should be 2 blocks wide. Like so, it's going to be 7 blocks long. This may be the other way around, by the way. May have to change that up a bit. And I'm going to make this thing 100 blocks tall, just so it makes sure it gets everything that the top has. And then give it a name. Just going to put U. Save it like that. And then you can literally just copy and paste the design along here. Once again, if you're in survival, don't even take notice of this. You literally just have to build it alternating by hand. This is just if you're grave and you can use the cheaty way like this. You now place in your structure block here. And type in load. Type in your name. Click enter. Then bam, a fly machine. Now this is very, very important that you do have this obsidian bits at the top, as if you did not place them there, then they would have broken. Then a block, structure block, click load, you do this, then do this until you get to the very end. The final one here, as you can see, even though this thing is not 2 blocks wide, I'm still going to put in it just like this. And then I get rid of this, as of course this thing's 13 by 13, not 14 by 14, so I don't need it. And then get rid of all the structure blocks. Then as you can see, bam, you literally have the whole door in place and it took no time at all. Oops, you do not want observers up here. And you can get rid of all these temporary stuff as well. This is no longer needed either. Then now, it's time for you to make another copy. So if you're in survival and you caught up with this, so you now have this involved, make yourself a copy. If you're in creative and you just built it manually or you did a cheater way like I did, make a copy. It's the best thing you can do every time you do something significant. Now I want to get your redstone blocks out, so whatever block you're going to use to put redstone on, stuff like that. So non-building blocks, you want to get those out. And what you want to do is you want to find where this piston is right here. You want to find where this observer is behind it. You want to come to a block here. You want to place a redstone dust here. That should make that block fire. You want to run a whole line of redstone dust going along all of these observers, with redstone dust along every single one of those. So now let's see if I were to have a button on here, every single one of those pistons should all flash at the exact same time. This is very, very important, as if those did not, each and every single one of these fly machines will be at different lengths from each other, basically causing it all to break. But let's just say your door is over 15 blocks wide, as of course the redstone length only goes up to 15. Well, let me show you what you do then. So here's a replica of a 20 by 20 that I have, of course. This thing's over 15 by 15. But look, this also works if you have a door going all the way to the max of 32 by 32. What you want to do, you want to come a block down, so under this. So you want to have block down, a block down, block down. So 2 blocks down in total. And then you want to come 15 blocks in from either side. So as you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You want to place like a marker block here. But once you got this grass block, you want to make sure that this side, if you include this glass block, so if you include this grass block, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you want to make sure that it's less than 15. So to make sure that it's less than 15 on both sides. And the better way to do that is you get yourself a lever, place the lever on this block, then you literally just test. As you see, this block of redstone is still activated. It's the block on the very end on this side to activate it too, and if it is not, then you need to place another grass block coming 15 blocks from that side onto this side as well. Let's say your door is 32 by 32 blocks wide. You are going to have 2 of these grass blocks. One 15 blocks from the left, then one 15 blocks to the right. But because this is only 20 blocks, I only had to come 15 blocks from the left, as this is not more than 15 blocks. But once you found a spot or multiple spots where the redstone is connected, you're going to carry on this redstone or these blocks line all the way to this side, right until it's under this block. Redstone dust under this. You then want to place an observer facing upwards on top of this redstone dust, destroy this grass block. Then to get yourself a repeater out, this is going to be the new line which you're going to activate this thing by, as you can see. So now we can have a repeater here. This observer will make sure that every single one of these pistons will still get activated, even though there is no actual contact with this line. So all these pistons get activated, just like so. And let's say you had another observer coming away somewhere over here. All you have to do is carry on this redstone line and go straight onto that observer, place a block up here, then you can carry on for another 15 blocks this way if you really wanted to. But just make sure that the redstone line underneath these 2 observers is the exact same. You could not have a repeater here, as of course that would then send different signals, different length, and mess everything up. It has to be the same redstone line. So if you really had to, you could just put a redstone repeater here, then that would guarantee you to have 15 blocks of space. That means you can make this thing 45 blocks wide if you really wanted to, but you can't do that anyways. So the maximum you could do is something like this and have a repeater there. But as long as this whole redstone line gets activated in the exact same time, and it should be fine. So, make another copy of this world. You then want to remove the redstone obsidian on top of here. You then want to activate your activation line. So let's say if your thing's under the 15 blocks, you literally just put a lever here, and you want to activate this. But if you like said this thing's 20 by 20, you want to activate this line. But whatever line you have, activate it, and the whole flying machine door will come out of the ground. It's the first time they're going to test this thing. Once again, this thing never gets old. But hopefully, if it's all gone well and there's no mistakes made, it should just go straight up and look something like this. If a mistake has been made and the whole flying machine's messed up itself, just load onto the copy, make another copy of that copy, and then fix the problem that you had, then test it again. It's a very, very simple way of doing things, but it works. You want to flick this redstone line off, then place another layer of obsidian at these bottom blocks going all along, just like this. Now this will stop this flying machine moving anywhere. It is stuck in place like this right now. You then want to come to these regular pistons, come to the observers at the back, place the block down here, put to the right, then run the blocks all the way along here, just like so. Then put redstone dust along every single one of these. And then you want to place an observer going from this line into this one. You may have to place multiple observers. You may have to place your observer literally right here. Just something like this. But you should be able to fit an observer here. And if you can't, then you can just like make observers going round or whatever. As long as you get an observer line from this line into this line, it should be good. And now we're back at this 20 by 20 over here. So let's say, once again, your redstone line is bigger than 15 blocks, which means you have to do this thing for the old redstone line. You have to do the same thing. So once again, placing your blocks down here, run redstone dust along all of those. But then, when you have the observers up again, that is where you want your observers to come from. So, you want to go where your observers are. You want to place your observers coming away from this redstone line. Did you have another observer here? Place an observer going up from this redstone line. So it's now guaranteed that every single one of this redstone dust will get activated. So even this one over here, where you flip this lever, even that piston can still get activated. As long as every single bit of your redstone line gets activated at the exact same time, then it's fine. And now, it's time for you to make another copy. So, copy has been made. We can now go ahead and remove all of this obsidian, stopping this flying machine from moving anywhere. And now, we can flip this lever once again, and it should make the whole thing go down. Well, not the whole thing, half of it go down. The top flying machine will still stay exactly where it is, but this bottom half should go down just like so. Awesome. You want to get your building blocks out. You want to place a row of blocks up here. On top of these sticky pistons, you want to put a row of redstone dust on top of them. With a block of iron over here. Observer. Put the lever here. Now this should make every single one of these sticky pistons activate at the exact same time. Where you flick it, all goes down. But once again, if your door is bigger than 15 blocks, you're going to have to do something different. It's always the 15 block door, people. Gotta make it annoying. But you can see, this thing's gone back to flush level. It's returned and the door is opened. That was your first initial test. And of course, for those of you who have a bigger door than 15 blocks, you're going to have to do something different. Still get your building blocks out. Still cover this whole layer in blocks. Put redstone blocks along these layers. And then you want to come back around to this down bit. And when you have observers here, you either want to place an observers above it or to the side of it. So you can either place an observer here, so it's going down, and then run a redstone line on top of this. Or if you don't want this thing to be really tall and instead have a bunch of room that way, you can do it to this side, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to place in a block here. And then a block behind it. I also have another observer here for whatever reason. Don't really know why I did that. But just like this. And I'm going to do this first, as I don't want to place it on my observers yet, as I'm not ready to activate this thing. You want to do all the way here. Now this is going to be the redstone line that you're going to use to activate it. Run along all of those. You want to place the repeater here so the redstone signal actually gets there. The repeater just before them. And a repeater here. Then now you can place in your two observers. So one here. One here. This will guarantee that every single one of this redstone just gets activated at exactly the same time. Then get your lever out. You can then activate it. And it all should all come down. So replacing your lever. All these sticky pistons get activated at the exact same time. Then this massive top flying machine will come down on its own. Don't worry, when we build this thing, it will all be activated automatically. You don't have to do this every time to get this thing up and down. But now, that should be everything done that's different between the 13 or below 15 block door than the above 15 block door. But now you want to finally place another layer of obsidian on top of these, just like this. And now it's time to make your border. And this is where you're going to be choosing whether or not you want this thing to be flush or not. So I'm not going to make mine flush, but if you are making it flush, all you'd have to do is have your border exactly here. But because I'm not making it flush, I'm going to have it one block in front, then my door will be here, my wall is here. But you want to come all the way up to the top. So that's where your top of your door would be. It would be here. And to come all the way to the right. And then, once again, all the way up. Just like so. Now double check this is 13 blocks. So you see, the height of my door is 13 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. You want to double check that as you don't want that to be messed up. But once you got this in place, we can extend your floor out because not everyone has this magical floating floor here. You can then destroy this grass block which is underneath this right pillar. And this is where your buttons are going to go. So get your button out, place it here. Then also unflip this lever. You want to make sure that this redstone line is off. Now destroy this lever too. You want to give yourself some room underneath this button. Placing some redstone dust here. Then block down. Redstone dust here, just like this. You want to place a block in front of this. Redstone dust here. Then block to the right. Target block on top of this, and this should make this redstone dust connect. Now let's say, of course, if you were making this door flush, your pillar would be here instead, and your button will be here instead. All you'd have to do to fix that is move this block, one blocking forward, then put in your redstone dust in here instead. But because mine is not flush, I can move one block forward again, sort this block out, then put my pillar back here. Then to come 5 blocks from here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like so. This is where the other side of your door is going to be. So if you really wanted to, you could make another massive frame for this. I'm not going to do that, but this is where your other button is going to go on. You either put it here or here, depending on what you want it in the inside of your walkway or on the outside. I much prefer it on the inside. I don't know why. I just do. You don't want to place a sticky person facing downwards under this. Observe it on it just like so. You place a temporary block here. Another block facing downwards. Destroy this block. Then place the block down. You then want to come 3 blocks to the left. Want redstone repeaters going along all of those until it gets into this piece of redstone dust here. So now let's say we were to activate this button. This redstone line gets activated. If we activate this button over here, this redstone line gets activated. Either way, the redstone line should get activated. And now you want to come from off this redstone dust. You want to place in 2 blocks here. Redstone repeater. Then what you want to do is you want to connect this redstone repeater into this bottom redstone line. So your activation lines. As you see, mine's just right here. But for this guy's over here, you'd have to activate it into these bottom ones down here. Now you can literally do this any way you want. It doesn't matter at all. So the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to put a block up. I'm just going to put a sticky person facing downwards. Another observer on its face, just like that. Block into here. And then that repeater would activate this sticky person going all the way down. But if you really wanted to, you'd have a redstone line going straight into this. You'd have a redstone block. You could just have anything you want as long as this redstone repeater goes into your bottom redstone line, which is the line that was then sending the signal upwards to here. Then let's activate this. Then you can do whatever you want. If you're having it bigger than 15 blocks, your activation line is all the way down there. So your 2 repeaters would be here. You could then literally just do something like this. You would have a wall here. You'd have a sticky person going downwards. Then you could have another block like this, with an observer like that. And then a block here. Just change this to a redstone block. See, this is one way to do it. But it doesn't matter what way you do it at all. Just as long as you have something like this where it's connected to your activation line, then it's all good. But once we got that is all the bottom bit of redstone done. Now all that's left to do is to having a wire going all the way up to here, get to this top bit, just like that. So you want to get your torches out, your redstone torches. Then you want to place one on top of this, and a block on top of that. And just keep on going up. Now this can be whatever way you want. As long as you get a signal to the top, you do not have to have a torch tower here. You could in fact have a redstone line coming off this target block and have it a torch tower like a long way away if you didn't want to be right here. But this is just the smallest you can get it, so I'm going to do it this way. You want to keep on going up though until you get an off redstone torch somewhat near the top. I'm going to keep on going. And then this is not what you want. I want mine to be off, so I'm just going to do this at the very top. Now, that is an off redstone torch. Now, what you want to do, you want to link this redstone torch up here into some sort of delay. Now, depending on how big your thing is, depends on how much delay you want it to be. So, for example, on my 20 by 20, which is somewhat over here, I have quite a bit of delay. I have 6 repeaters all on 4 ticks. So, you shouldn't need more than that. But for safekeeping, I'm going to give myself 3 redstone repeaters. No, actually, make it 4. 4 redstone repeaters, all sets of 4 ticks, but the bigger your door, the more redstone repeaters you will need. But what this will do is this will allow this bottom flying machine to go all the way down, or not all the way down, just down enough before the top flying machine is activated. That's the worst thing you could want. You do not want to activate a flying machine, even though. Then you want to link this redstone line into observer, but then a sticky piston, not observer. Then just make it connect to this redstone line. Now it's going to be different if this is not your activation line. For example, over here, you would have to link up your delay straight into this line. This is very simple to do. You'll have to do, let's say, if this is your off redstone torch, which it probably isn't, but if your off redstone torch is somewhere here, all you'd have to do is do something like this, where you connect a redstone line into this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because this is 20 by 20, that's how much delay you're going to need. The sticky piston, straight into this, just like so. Connect it to this. So either how, as long as you have a redstone delay of somewhat big connected to your activation line, then that's good. But now, it's time to make another copy. Whoa. Then that should be all the redstone done actually. So, if this thing works or not, we don't know. Of course, it might not work. It might be the fact that you don't have enough delay up here, or something else might go wrong. You have no idea. All you gotta do is hope, really. When we press this button, everything should go up. Why are they moving? I think I forgot to put the observers over there. We don't worry about that. As this door, yes, it reached the top. As you can see, 13 by 13 piston door has reached the top just like so. And then now we can also press this button, and then this bottom bit should go down. And then, nope, that is way too early. Yeah, not good. So, this is what copies are for. This is exactly what the copies are for. So, we now go into our copies. This is my copy of the world. I make another copy of this world. And I need to add more delay onto it. As of course, I didn't have enough delay. I'm going to give this thing the whole 6 redstone repeaters of delay. Just to make sure this time. I did not want that. So, get rid of these. Yep, that's been activated a lot. Why are you getting activated? I don't know. But 1, 2, add in the sticky piston, add in the observer, and block here. Now, by the way, you can make this one of your roof blocks. This is not how to rest on wall. You will be able to see this from down there, so make a block that actually looks nice. But now, we can test this thing again. Oh, nope, we can't, because there isn't any, there was still obsidian here. But now we can test it again. This whole thing will rise out of the ground. We already know this works. It worked in the test world. So it's gonna work here. This should go all the way up to the top. Yes, it does. Look at that. Awesome. But now, when we press it again, now this delay should stop what happened last time from happening. As you see, yes, there we go. So the bottom bit pulled away, and the top bit fired afterwards. So, yes, you may break, but trust me, it's alright. You can load up the copy, then add a bit more delay, and you can see everything's working now. We can also test out this button over here to make sure that this button also works. No, it does not, and that is because you need to add another tick onto this. This sticky piston did not have enough time to activate it because this was 1 tick. Do this, and now that's in 2 ticks. This should all go up, but still no. Still, nothing's happening. Why? Oh, more delay. 3 ticks. Come on. There we go. Now it's all activated. That's just a silly mistake, but once again, going all the way up to the top here. Awesome. We can press it again, and then it will all go down. We can actually see when this thing gets activated. It's a very, very cool way this thing works. I absolutely love it. But now what's left for you to do is to add decoration and make this thing look somewhat good. And the first thing that I'm going to do is replacing these blocks up here with blocks that don't look terrible. Because they do. They really look bad. Then add in a ceiling for this thing. Literally do whatever you want. And I'm going to show you the blocks that you do have to put non-stickable blocks on. Now this block over here, this block will have to have an upside down stair on because you want to cope this redstone. But what you do not want to do is to get in the way of this. Now, if you are making this thing flush with the wall, you will have a piece of redstone dust here, so you can't cover it up anyways. But if you're doing it like me, you can cover that up. And of course, you can do the inside of your door too. So walls are important. You do a wall on this side. Now, these blocks over here, these can be whatever blocks you want. And the same with these blocks here. So these can also be whatever block you want. Going all the way to the top. And same on this side, all the way up to the top. But it's the blocks in the middle that do have to be set one block back. So you can either have them here, or you can do what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to have shulker boxes on the walls. So you can either have your blocks here, then have some non-sticky block, like a brown shulker box on the floor. I like using brown shulker boxes as I think they match with the wood relatively well. So you can either do something like this on the walls, where your shulker boxes would be on the floor, you'd have your wall one block back. This is what I did with the flush door, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to make a wall of shulker boxes, and to do that, I'm going to have to first do this, to be honest. Then get myself my shulker boxes out. I mean, of course, if you're in survival, you would not be using shulker boxes to do this, but if you're in creative, these by far look the best, as they are white. So you can cover your wall up like this. You can do the same with the other side. This side already has some blocks for me, which I can use to cover up. And then finally, you can add in your other side's frame, just like this. Make it all the way around. Then that is everything done. But now that's everything done, as you see, I have the wall in place, I have the walls on the inside in place, everything's done. We can press this button, the door should come out of the ground. Let me just look at this. That is awesome. It then should stop because the obsidian on top of the roof over there. Then once this thing is shut, we can open it again, because we're one of those people who just likes to open and close this door because it looks absolutely amazing. Now, if you have any questions or the door is not working, then please do ask me in the description below. Not in the description, the comment section. Or if you really do need help, this whole thing has just not gone well for you, then join my Discord. I promise you, I'll help there. That's the best place for me to help you. Anyways, if you found this video helpful in whatever place possible, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. It honestly means so much. But that's everything done. That's all from me. And I'll see you all later. Had fun with the gigantic, like humongous doors. I love them.